Hi guys, I'm Whitney from Sugar and Sparrow, and today I'm showing you 3 different ways to prepare your cake pans. I'm hoping that by teaching you these methods, it'll save you the frustration of thinking you baked the perfect cake only to have it stick to the pan and fall apart on you. Whether you're completely new to baking and don't know the first thing about what it means to grease and flour or line a cake pan, or you're just curious about how I prepare my cake pans, you're going to learn it all in this video. Before I talk about the 3 main methods of preparing cake pans, I want to talk about the different ingredients and materials you can use with them. For greasing a pan, you have a few different options. There's cooking spray, and this one's called Baker's Joy. It's actually my preferred spray for cake baking, but there are other brands out there as well. You could also use butter, shortening, or a vegetable oil of your choice. For flouring a pan, I recommend using whatever kind of flour the recipe calls for, which is typically all-purpose flour and sometimes cocoa powder if it's a chocolate cake. And for lining a cake pan, you could use parchment paper, which is designed to be oven safe, or a wax paper that specifies it can be used as a cake pan liner. While it's not recommended to bake exposed wax paper in the oven, it can be used as a pan liner as long as the box says so. So in other words, check the box or the brand website if you're unsure. Method 1 is greasing the sides and lining the bottom. This is my go-to method because I never want to be left guessing whether or not I missed a spot on the bottom of the pan and risk the cake sticking. Having a liner there always reassures me. To make the liner, simply trace the cake pan on top of a piece of parchment or wax paper, I'm using parchment for this, and cut along the inside of the circle you traced. Repeat this process for the amount of layers you're making and set them aside. Then, grease the sides of the pan with either of the ingredients mentioned in the beginning of this video: vegetable oil, butter, shortening, or my preferred ingredient, which is cooking spray. Once the sides are well greased, place a parchment paper circle into the pan and press it down to secure it to the bottom. Method 2 is greasing and flouring. A lot of cake recipes will ask you to grease and flour the pan, and it simply means that you grease the entire pan before coating that grease with flour. To do this, I'm pouring about a teaspoon or 2 of vegetable oil into the pan and using a paper towel to spread it evenly over the sides and bottom. Next, add about a tablespoon of flour and shake it around until it coats the sides and bottom of the pan. Like I mentioned before, a recipe will typically specify which type of flour to use for this part, but the most common is all-purpose flour. Method 3 is greasing the pan only. In my humble opinion, this is the riskiest of the 3 methods since there's no added protection from a pan liner or coating of flour. I will say that using a cooking spray like Baker's Joy is your best bet if you're going to go with this method, as the spray contains flour. Once you've got your pans prepared with your preferred method, you're ready to add the cake batter. Just be sure to follow the instructions about how much batter to add to the pans. Some recipes will tell you to divide the batter evenly, while others will state to fill the pans no more than a half or 2/3 of the way full. This is because pan heights can differ. While one 6-inch pan might have sides that are 2 inches tall, another might have sides that are shorter or taller than that. So just be sure to check the recipe and ensure that you don't overfill your pans. After your cakes are good and baked, they should be super easy to release if you prepared your cake pan well. I like to cool mine in the pan for about 5 minutes before placing a clean oven mitt on top and flipping the entire pan upside down. See how easy it is to remove the pan? It works like this every time for me, but if your cakes aren't releasing well, you can always run a knife between the sides of the pan and the cake to do a little pre-releasing. Once the cake is released, I flip it right side up and place it onto a baking sheet to cool completely for a few hours. You could alternatively use a cooling rack to place the cakes on, but just be sure to let them cool to room temperature before applying any frosting. I don't recommend placing warm cakes in the refrigerator or freezer to speed up the cooling time, just because the extreme temperature change can end up shocking the cake and creating extra condensation. Instead, either be patient with the cooling process or plan to make your cakes ahead of time, whether it's a day ahead or a month ahead. I'll actually be getting to that in an upcoming Cake Basics video where I'll be walking you through how to bake your cakes and make your frosting ahead of time, and how to store it all properly so that everything is ready to go when you're ready to decorate. If you want to follow along with this Cake Basics series and all of the other fun cake videos I release, feel free to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a new one. You can also head to my blog at sugarandsparrow.com for all of my favorite recipes, baking tips, cake decorating tutorials, and so much more. Thanks for watching!